So hello guys, today's session is on forensics and we'll be starting in under 5 to 7 minutes. So hello guys, Harshita is here to take the today's session on cyber forensics. So we are going to just start the session.
Okay, let's begin with cyber forensics. Thank you, VR Plymouth, for giving me opportunity to talk on forensics. Okay, so we will start. Okay, today we will see the overview of cyber forensics as well as some forensics tools, how to use it, how to handle it, and some steganographic practicals. Okay, so we will start. Okay, so what is exactly digital forensics? Mainly, forensics and investigation both are different fields, right? Because most of the people are think that investigation and forensics are both are same, but not. It is not like that. Okay, so we'll see. Digital forensics is a method of extracting and preserving data from a computer so that it can be used in a criminal proceeding as evidence. So we will see some overview of forensics also. Okay, let's assume one or two example. Okay, most people can pick up someone's computer and do a quick search to find out the types of files they have saved and the sites they have visited online. Computer forensics does that and more. This field generally involves recovering data that is either lost or deleted from media, operating system, peripherals, or disk drives. Files that are hidden from the average person are uncovered through an in-depth search of the computer system. That is steganography. You can take it as a steganography metadata, right? This search can recover or reveal deleted, hidden, encrypted, protected files An employer, the IRS, government agencies, and other applicable institutions can use this information to discover fraudulent or criminal activity. When we are using social media networks or any chat rooms, okay, so whenever you are deleting your chat history, your call history, your message history, so yes, temporary it is deleted, right, from your handset, from your mobile, from your laptop, PC, whatever it is, whatever it is, it will be deleted at that time. But yes, it could not be deleted permanently. It is available on the cloud, it will be available on the cloud. And yes, by using forensics technique, the whole data will be recovered. By using write blockers, there are lots of forensics tool also, okay, so we will see in further. Okay, computer forensics is also a tool for tracking down people who commit identity theft. Even if a criminal uses a different computer system and deletes all incriminating evidence, the information may still reside on the computer and be useful in tracking down the perpetrator. Yes, as I have told you that yes, nothing will be deleted permanently. It will be retrieved by using any of the forensics tool, any of the forensics technique. There are lots of forensics technique. Okay, we will see some types of forensics also. Digital forensic is not only of cyber forensic. Okay, there will be some mobile forensic, network forensic also. Computer forensics method have the ability to analyze data left on the system and determine its use, origin, and destination. So what will be the data preservation? Okay, when we are using our Android phones, our PC, or anything else to preserve our data, if it is a file, if it is a songs, if it is a images, so yes, it will be recovered. Okay, if you have deleted the folders, if you have deleted the files, so yes, it will be recovered by any of the forensics tools. Just like with any type of criminal cases, there are rules that must be followed in the computer forensics. Evidence has to be kept as close to its original format as possible and stay relatively untouched, similar to crime scene preservation correctly. Analyzing the evidence is also important as is following the letter of the law. Okay, when you are into digital forensics and if you are investigating one of the case, so whatever the evidence you have got, if it is a cyber related case, if it is a rape case, if it is a murder case, so all the evidence data, all the evidences you have to fill in a chain of custody, right? So yes, chain of custody also plays an important role in our digital forensics. Standard rules for digital evidence legal processes are adhered to in cases of computer crime, whether the computer being examined was checked into or used for to a crime, right? So let's see some practical applications of digital forensics. Okay, where the digital forensics mainly used, right? Computer forensics is used in many Computer forensic is used in many different situations by a wide number of professionals. It is applicable in civil and criminal proceeding by both the defense, the prosecution. Cases could include, okay, there will be some divorce cases, there will be some financial or insurance fraud, there will be some identity theft also, some sexual harassment and child pornography, arson and age discrimination, right? In human trafficking, digital forensics plays an important role because some human traffickers are transmitting the images of the girls, or if it is the children's, okay, they are transmitting the images by one person to another person. Okay, when they caught by the police, okay, at before days, they have just deleted their old histories. If it is some searching history, if it is there will be some chats in chat rooms. So yes, they will deleted all the chats or all the photos of the children's and women's, etc., etc. Okay, but if they are caught by police, yes, there will be some investigator and forensicator. They will retrieve all the data, all the images by using some write block or by using some autopsy also, right? So next we will see what are the process of types of digital forensics, right? First one is computer forensics, network forensics, forensic data analysis, mobile device forensics, IoT forensics, cloud forensics, and many more, right? Nowadays mobile device forensics is in trend, and IoT forensics also, because nowadays all are using smart devices, and most of the people are using some IoT devices to secure their home application. Okay, so yes, nowadays mobile device forensics and IoT forensics are in trend. So what will be the process of digital forensics? Okay, if the crime will be happen, okay, if it is a cyber crime, if it is a rape case, if it is a murder case, so yes, what will be the process of digital forensics? Okay, if it is a rape case also, if it is a murder case also, then yes, we have to if in rape case, okay, the one of the person will record all those things in his phone, in his Android. Okay, so yes, if he will upload these videos on viral internet, so yes and after that he deleted that video, so yes, by using, whenever he will add these videos on the internet or internet website, so yes, the IP address will be traceable, the IMEI number will be also traceable. Then after that, the police or the investigator officers will find out the IP address of the culprit, and yes, the after using all those things, the culprit will be caught by police, and yes, the whole data will be retrieved by the forensicator or investigator officers. Yes, and after this, the all photos or videos the person will might have, so yes, they can find the culprit, right? So what will the process of forensics? Identification, preservation, extraction, interpretation, documentation, and presentation, right? So what is identification? Crime happen, identify the crime scene. Okay, whenever the crime will be happen, so yes, what will be the first duty of the forensicator or even investigator? So yes, they have to identify the crime scene, right? If it is a cyber crime, one of the person is hack government website, and after 1 or 2 hours, the culprit will mail the police officer that I'm going to hack this website or this website. Okay, so when the police will got that email, and they will just find out the IP address of this location, and they just reach at this location, so yes, they will the hacker will be ran away, but the all the evidences will be stored and its place, right? If it is a android phone, if it is a laptop, if it is a PC, so yes, so first we have to identify the crime scene. What will be the preservation? Okay, warrant. Yes, we have to first warrant, respondent, seize evidence, transport, right? So first we have to make one warrant, that is if it is a search warrant, if it is a arrest warrant, right? So first respondent will be able to make the warrant, then seize the evidence and transport. Okay, whatever the evidence they will got from the crime scene, so yes, they have to seize the evidence, and after seizing the evidence, they will have to just transport the evidence from the crime place to the forensicator office of it is a cyber cell, etc., right? What will be the extraction? Okay, bit by bit copy, MD5, SHA, chain of custody, and storage, right? What will be the extraction? Extraction, it means if suppose, yes, I got one lost mobile, okay, so what will be the my extraction? Okay, I'll just mention her model name, I'll just mention her, okay, if I'm able to find the IP address of the IP address or IMEI number of the mobile, so yes, I'll just extract the details of the each and every communication, if it is a communication device, if it is a hard disk, if it is a floppy disk, etc. Okay, so what will be the interpretation? The next process is interpretation. So yes, we have to analyze. Okay, so if the forensic investigator will make a chain of custody of any of the damage, so we'll just assume that any of the damaged PC. So yes, after extraction, so in interpretation process, the every chain of custody report will be the analyzed by the uh, head of the association, right? So fifth one process is documentation, that is report generation after filling up all the details in chain of custody. So yes, the forensic expert will have to create a report that is based on some of the chain of custody, if it is some warrant, also if it is some FIR. Okay, so they have to just attach all those evidence, then it will be some photocopies of extracted media, and some photos will be taken from the crime scene, right? So sixth process is presentation, right? So what will be the in presentation? So yes, we have to show the evidence at the court. Okay, if your evidence will be accurate, if your evidence will be correct, and there will be no mistakes in that chain of custody or analysis process, then yes, your case will be then we'll go for maintaining chain of custody. Okay, what will be the chain of custody? Okay, chain of custody refers to the documentation that shows the people who have been instructed with the evidence. This would be people who have seized the equipment, people who are in charge of transferring the evidence from the crime scene to the forensics lab, people in charge of analyzing the evidence, and so on. Okay, so we'll just see what will exactly how the chain of custody will look like that. Okay, this is the evidence chain of custody tracking form. Okay, so what you have to fill up here? Okay, here is a case number. Yes, you have to just fill up okay, so here is a case number, here is the offense. Okay, you have to just write here what will be the offense, if it is a cyber stalking, if it is a cyber terrorism. So yes, you have to just fill up the over here. Then submitting officer, who will be submitting the chain of custody to the court. Okay, so the victim name, the suspect, okay, and the date and time seized. Okay, when whenever the all evidences or all communication devices will be seized, that date and time you have to put it here, and location of seizure. Okay, if the evidence will be seized at the crime scene, so yes, you have to just put the location of the seizure, right? So after that, you have to just description of evidence. Okay, so item, quantity, and description of item, if it is a model, serial number, condition, marks, and scratch. Okay, if you will receive a damaged floppy disk, or you will receive some of the damaged parts of laptop, so yes, you have to just mention here that. So what will be the condition, if it is in bad or if it is in good condition, or some marks. Okay, there will be some scratches of it will be damaged or not, right? So in second part, you have to just show here chain of custody, right? there will be also 5 compartment. First one is item number, date and time. Yes, whenever you are writing, okay, at that day I'm extracting a PC. Tomorrow I'm extracting the Android phone. So yes, the date and time you have to should be right here. Okay, so release by, signature and ID, and receive by. Okay, if the forensicator will extract the all the evidences, okay, so they have to just put their signature and ID if they have, and receive by. Okay, so most of the police officer will hire even investigative officer or forensicator, right? So yes, they just, the forensic expert just give their all the chain of custody data towards the police officer. So yes, they have to just, so yes, they have to just fill it here their signature and IDs, and yes, comments and location. If they are seizing or they are transmitting the evidence from forensicator officer to the police station, so yes, they have to just mention their location also and some comment also, right? If when at the crime scene, okay, the mobile application, the mobile phone will be okay, but in the transfer, okay, from crime scene to the forensicator officer, the mobile phone will get some damage, okay, the scratches on it. So yes, you have to just mention here also, right? So this is the best way to, so let's see what will be the important points to remember for foolproof chain of custody, right? So physically inspect the storage medium, take photograph and symmetrically records observation. Okay, whenever you will at crime scene, so yes, you have to just take photographs, or if it is possible, you have to just record the videos of the evidence. Okay, guard against hazard like theft and mechanical failure. Use good physical security and data encryption. House multiple copies in different location. Yes, when you extract the evidence, okay, so yes, you have to make a different copies at different locations, right? So the my original copy is in my PC, my second copy is in my pen drive, and my third copy is in my CD drive or any other storage media, right? So third one is protect digital magnetic media from external electric and magnetic fields. Ensure protection of digital media, particularly optical media, from scratches, right? Because CDs, DVDs, both are optical media, right? But when you are seizing it, so yes, you have to seize it properly, because the optical media will get some scratches if from transmitting the one place to the another place, right? So account for all people with physical or electronic access to the data. Keep the number of people involved in collecting and handling the devices and data to a minimum. Always accompany evidence with their chain of custody forms. Give the evidence positive identification at all times, that is legible and written with the permanent link. Okay, you have to just keep in the number of people. Okay, uh, there will be 2 or 3 people at the crime scene. Okay, those 3 people are transmitting the evidence from crime scene to the police station. Okay, so in police station, the police station will give all the evidence to the forensic expert. So yes, you have to just keep in mind how many people are registered, how many people are handling the devices and data to a minimum, right? So yes, it is a duty, so you have to just mention their name or count. Okay, the 3% will be transmitting the digital evidence from one place to another. The police department will give all, surrender all the evidence to the forensic expert. After that, forensic expert extract the all evidence, and then after extracting, the forensic investigator will forward the all chain of custody and all the evidence to the police station, right? That's why we have to just, okay, what will be the write blockers? Okay, write blockers are used in extract the your call logs, your phone, your media. Okay, so we'll just see that what is exactly the write blockers, right? A write blocker is any tool that permits read-only access to data storage devices without compromising the integrity of the data. A write blocker, when used properly, can guarantee the protection of the data chain of custody. NIST's general write blocking requirements holds that the tool shall not allow a protected drive to be changed. The tool shall not prevent obtaining any information from about any drive. The tool shall not prevent any operation to a drive that is not protected. Okay. Mostly the cyber cell or the forensic expert will use hardware write blocker. Okay. So let's see what will be the exactly hardware write blockers and how. So yes, write blocker will look like that. So just see, okay, creating forensic images using software and hardware write blockers. Okay, there are two types. One is software and second is hardware write blockers. Both software and hardware write blockers are available, right? Software write blockers are versatile and came into two flavors. One is module that plugs into the forensic software and can generally be used to write block any port of the computer. The other method of software write blocking is to use a forensic boot disk. This will boot the computer from the hard drive. Developing checklist that can be repeatable procedure is an ideal way to ensure solid result in any investigation. Software write blockers are limited by the port, speed of the port they are blocking, plus some of the overhead for the write blocking process, but then all write blockers are limited in this manner. Okay, so next one, why hardware write blockers are normally optimized or used by the cyber cell or forensic experts. Forensics copy tools such as two example of hardware write blockers, that is LogicCube and TableU. Although many companies make them, LogicCube will both hash an image or drive at a rate of about 3 GB per minute. They are small and portable and can replace the need of bulky PCs on a job site. There are also appliances and large enterprises software packages that are designed to automate and elevate the labor requirement of large disclosure acquisition that many span thousands of computers. Okay, so we will see. Okay, this is a hardware. Okay, hardware and software both are used. Okay, if you are using software write blocker, so yes, you have to plug the computer pin to the software, and yes, by using hardware write blocker, you have to just plug the computer pin towards the hardware write blockers, right? So we'll see another one, that is steganography. Okay, steganography is, what is exactly steganography? Okay, so steganography is mean by the data hidden within the data, right? So we will see two practicals. First one is using with tools, and another one without using tool. Steganography is an encryption technique that can be used along with cryptography as an extra secure method in which to protect data. Okay, mostly steganography will be in crimes, that is if it is a cyber terrorism. Okay, someone is sending some offensive mails, and some terrorists also use steganography methods, and yes, human traffickers also use steganography method to transmit the sensitive information from one place to another, right? Okay, so yes, steganography techniques can be applied to images, a video file, or an audio file. Typically, however, steganography is written in characters, including hash marking, but its usage within images is also common. At any rate, steganography protects from pirating copyrighted materials as well as aiding in unauthorized viewing, right? So there are some techniques in steganography. Okay, first one is text steganography, image steganography, video steganography, audio steganography, and network steganography. Okay, but mostly image steganography are used in crime site. So we will just see what is exactly the practicals of steganography. So first we will see um, steganography without using tool. Okay, for that you need just command prompt, that is which is situated in your computer. Okay, so we will just see. Okay, for that you have to just download or any images. So I'll just download any images from my browser. Okay, so we'll just I'll just okay, you can use your own images also. Okay, okay, so just saved it. Okay, after that I have to create one text file, some message. Okay, so I'll use Notepad. I'll write here, hello. My name. Don't type. This is not my Facebook password. Okay, I'll just create one sensitive information, right? So I just save it, save as. Okay, in text form, right? So I'll just put here a dot txt to just save. Okay, okay, after that here is my a.txt files. Yes, I have to change extension to the .rar file. So yes, uh, you have to use WinRAR. Okay, you have to just download the WinRAR from Google. Okay, so I have already downloaded it. So yes, so now you can see, yes, my text file and my RAR file all with me. Okay, so text file also will be same and the RAR file also will be same. Okay, the file will be compressed, right? So here is my text document and here is my original. So a.txt, I don't need that, so I'll just delete it. Okay, so here is my a.txt and our downloaded images, right? Download. I'll just copy here. So it will be easy test. Okay, I'll just rename it. Okay, whenever you are downloading any images, just see that it will be a PNG format, it will be a JPG and JPG format. So if you have to check the properties of images, you have to just right click on it and just go through properties. And yes, you can see here it is a type of JPG file, that is Okay, so it will be okay. So I'll just rename it to the B. Okay. So now I have A dot A rar file and B, that is image. So yes, after that I have to just open up the command prompt. So I have to just write here command, that is copy. Now I have to just go through CD desktop. Okay. So I'll just change directory from users to the desktop, right? Because my both folders are on desktops. So yes, I'll just write here command, that is copy space slash b dot slash b, then a dot rar plus b dot jpg, and third one is c dot jpg, right? So B stands for binary, right? Because our computer will only knows about the binary, right? Binary languages, right? So A dot rar is my text file, B dot jpg is my image file, and C dot jpg, it will be my steganographic image, right? So I'll just put enter. Okay, C dot jpg, then I'll just put here enter. Just search here C dot jpg. I'll just repeat my command, okay? Copy, then slash b space a dot rar plus b dot jpg, then c dot jpg. Okay. So yes, my file is copied, right? A dot rar and b dot jpg both are copied, right? So yes, the steganography image will be, yes, here is my image, right? So when I'll just share the steganographic image with the third person, okay? If it is open, so yes, he could not get the any data or any images, right? So he have to open the image in WinRAR, right? So I will just open with in WinRAR archiver. Okay. So yes, I'll got my a.txt file, right? So yes, hello, my name is Harshita and my Facebook password is 1234569, right? So A and B both are copied and it will form a C, right? The steganographic image. So I'll just delete it if you are confused. So I'll just delete both image. So this is my steganography and you have to just open with WinRAR. Okay. And yes, here I got my a.txt. Okay, this is the my sensitive information. If I am sending this image file to the third person, so yes, no one will get that in this image file there will be a sensitive information, that is my FB password, right? So second one is steganography without using tool, right? So with using tool, right, there are lots of steganographic tools. Okay, you can use it, but yes, I must prefer ZIO steganographic tool. Okay, you can just download it by Google. Okay, so I don't need this one, so I'll just delete it. Okay, so after that, yes, I'll just download one image for my, okay, the image will be saved. Okay, I'll just put your location as desktop. Okay, the image will be saved, right? So by using any tool, right? But I mostly prefer ZIO steganography tool. Okay, this is my image, right? So I'll just rename here, rename it. Okay, rename to the A. Okay, you can give any type of name, okay, as your choice. Okay, now I have to just create the, okay, now we will see that in previous the image property will be, the extension will be JPG. So I'll just, in ZIO steganography tool, I want the extension of image in BMP format. Okay, the extension will be BMP. So what will be the my next process? I'll just open Paint here, Paint. Okay, so I'll open here my image. Okay, then here is my image. Okay, after that I'll just save as. Okay, here are some option. Okay, the extension, that is PNG, JPG, but I want BMP picture, so yes, I'll just choose this option. Okay, I'll give another name, B. BMP, it is a format of bitmap image. Okay, so yes, I got my bitmap image. Okay, here is my bitmap image. So I don't need my A. So yes, I'll just delete it. Now I'll just make another one. My sensitive information is Notepad. You can use any of the word, etc., etc. Okay, it is up to you. So I'll just put here another. Okay, I'll just save. Desktop B. Okay, maybe I have C. Okay, I got my text file also, right? So I have my BMP image and my C file, right? That is text file. And in this text file, there will be some my sensitive content, right? So after that, what will be the next process? Okay, GIO steganography tool, you can download it from Google. Okay, it will be available. And yes, it is free of cost. Okay, so I'll just add files. Okay, first select the target file, right? So I'll just load target file. Okay, so you have to put here B, that is your BMP image, right? So you have to load file, that is your image file, then open. Okay, you have to just go to next. Then here you have to add your sensitive information text file, that is our C. So I'll just go to here, then C, right? So next, okay, you can use here, right? Here you can give any encryption algorithm to RC2, RC4, DS, triple DS, triple DS. Okay, it is up to you. So I'll give here RC4 and hashing algorithm. I will give here MD5. And yes, if you want to secure your file, okay, your steganographic image. So yes, you can use your password also. So yes, I'll just put here my password. Okay, so next. Okay, so A, B and C I have, so I'll just put here D, right? So save to D, right? This is my steganographic image. So yes, you can see here my B and D, both images are looking same, right? B is my BMP image and D is my steganographic image. So yes, I'll just delete C and B. Okay, so after that you have to extract files, right? So I'll just go here, extract files, load source file. Okay, that is our steganographic image. D, open, then next, extract file. Okay, so yes, I have put a password when we are adding both files. So yes, I'll just give my password here. Okay, my file will be extracted, so I'll just put K here. Okay, you can see this is my steganographic image, right? And this is my extracted file. So yes, I'll just show you. Yes, this is my sensitive information. This is my name. This is my Facebook password, and I'm just going to tell here that my Gmail is hacked, right? So this is how the steganographic will be used. Okay, so any of the attacker, any of the hacker will use steganography technique to send sensitive information by using images, file, audio, and network, right? So I'll just delete here, so I don't need that. Okay, so image forensics, right? Image forensics also plays an important role in digital forensics, right? So we'll just go to the image forensics. Okay, the trustworthiness of photographs has an essential role in many areas, including forensics investigation, criminal investigation, surveillance system, intelligence services, medical imaging, and journalism, right? Nowadays, sari challenge will be trending in our social media. Okay, the girls are putting their pictures on social media handles, right? So image forensic, what is exactly mean by image forensic? Okay, freely available websites. By using this, you can get all metadata of file. Okay, if I am putting my image on any of the social media platform, okay, so someone is threatening me. Okay, so he'll just extract my, he'll just know my all location when I have clicked the image, when I have put it on social media network. So yes, it will be easily available for hackers. Okay, so we'll just go through it. Okay, Information revolution and issues concerned with multimedia security have also generated several approaches to digital forensics and tampering detection. Generally, these approaches could be divided into active and passive blind approaches. The area of active methods simply can be divided into the data harding approach and the digital signature approach. We focus on blind methods as they are regarded as new direction, and in contrast to active methods, they work in absence of any protecting techniques and without using any prior information about the image to detect the traces of tampering. Blind methods use the image function and the fact that forgeries can bring into the image specific detectable changes. Okay, so we'll just see one of the practical image of practical of image forensics. Okay, so you can use exif data viewer. Okay, I'm using this exif data viewer. Okay, you have to just upload any image in folder. Okay, so I'll just make sure. If you are using a downloaded file image from a Google, so yes, you will not get the any metadata from this. So I'll just make okay. I'll just copy paste. Okay, this is my image. So I'll just make new folder and name will be image. Right. After that, I'll use exif data viewer to extract the image. Right. So I'll get all the metadata related to that particular image. So yes, go to desktop. Here is my image folder. So I'll just go to okay. So yes, you can see here, I will get there is no name. Yes, bipolar Intel camera make intakes. So what will be the model of my mobile, that is Aqua Freedom software. Yes, I'll software date and time. Yes, I'll click this picture on 27 of February at 2070 12 p.m. Okay, so orientation is normal. Exif version, there will be some color space, date time, original date time, desired dated, then digital zoom ratio, then undefined, right? So flash present, no detection function, 2.4, 3. Okay, all will be, you will get all the information regarding to your image. If it is a focal length, if it is a, if your, you will give permission camera to use your location. So yes, you will get exact location when the photo is captured, right? So here is the image forensics. Next we will see about anti-forensics. Okay, what is anti-forensics? Anti-forensic is more than technology. It is an approach to criminal hacking that can be summed up like this: make it hard for them to find you, impossible for them to prove they found you. Okay, so what is mean by anti-forensics? Okay, the criminals use VPN, the criminals use Tor browser to commit any crime. So yes, they will increase the investigation time of any forensic expert, any investigator. So yes, anti-forensics tools are mainly used to by hackers, fraudsters, right? So forensics was versus anti-forensics. Forensics, that is scientific knowledge for collecting, analyzing and presenting evidence of the code, that is USCRT 2005, and anti-forensics is tools and techniques that frustrate forensics tool investigation and investigators, right? So there are some goals of anti-forensics: avoiding detection, disrupting information collection, increasing the examiner time, casting doubt on a forensic report or testimony. Okay, because most of the hackers are used Tor to commit crime. Most of the hackers are use virtual box or virtual machines to use any of the operating system in their computer. So yes, there will be some testimony and some doubt in the testimony and chain of custody, right? So yes, this is called anti-forensics. So what will be the anti-forensics techniques? Subverting the tool, using it to attack the examiner or organization, leaving no evidence that the anti-forensic tool has been run, overwriting, eliminate data or metadata, disk sanitizer, free space sanitizer, file shredders, Microsoft remove hidden data tool, CC cleaner, metadata eraser, that is timestamp. Okay, you can, okay, in previous practical we have seen image forensics, right? We are using exif data tool. Okay, but you can remove or you can edit metadata by using some anti-forensics tool, right? So it is up to anti-forensics. Now we will see how to use autopsy, how to use image search, image search system. Okay, so we'll just see 2 to 5 tools that will be used by forensics experts to extract the data of the computer, phone, etc. Okay. So first one is image search tools, right? Image forensic search system. Okay, in this tool you can compare both images, right? If whenever the crime happen, right, at crime scene, the investigator or police officer take lots of pictures, right? But there are some similarities also and there are some difference in both pictures. Okay, so here you can use these tools to compare both the images. Okay, you will get the result right here. So I'll just okay, I'll just choose here one image. Okay, so browse. Desktop. Okay, here is my one image, right? So I'll just go for next. Okay, so you can choose here option. Choose the type of search. Search for similar images within selected directory downwards. Search for source image with another image. Search for source image with every image in selected directory downwards, right? So in first search, you can search similar image which I have chosen before, right? In second, you have to search one image with another image, and in third option you have to search the image. If I am giving a download folder to the search, then yes, the image will be searching in the download list, right? So I'll just go for third option, browse. So yes, I'll go through downloads. So yes, just go through it. Then next. Okay, it will take some time. I guess it's not working. Okay, we'll just leave this. Okay, let's see another one. Okay, it's not working properly. We'll see autopsy, right? Okay, in this I'll show you how to recover the extracted data from the PDF. Okay, so we'll just see, because this software is not working properly. Okay, let's see. Okay, go through new case. Okay, I'll put here case name. Okay, you can use it here any one. So I'll just put here C dash 101. Okay, then base directory. Then you can use put here case type as a single user. Okay, then data will be stored at desktop, right? C101. That okay. So next number. Okay, the case number is my 101. C101. HCJ phone. HCJ. Okay. Whenever the investigator use the autopsy, then yes, they have to just fill up their own information, right? So I'll just finish here. So yes, they are creating my database, my all things. Okay, so yes, you can see here that C101. Okay, at the top, yes, the my case is ready. So yes, it will take some time. Okay, it's depend upon your laptop. It's depend upon your storage, right? Okay, so here I can use select type of data source to add, right? Disk image, VM file, local disk, logical files, unlocated space, autopsy, logical image router. So yes, I'll just go for local disk, select disk. So yes, ignore orphan files in FAT system, make VAD image. I'll just select this option and just go through next. Okay, so here you can check what were the information you will get to here. Okay, the correlation engine, right? So I'll just select all and go through next. Okay, then just go through finished. Okay, so my all the information will be extracted content will be here. Okay, so exactly my sector size will be 512 and then my time zone, my device ID, my size, image, all will be here. So extracted content. So exactly I have 358 items in my pen drive. So yes, it will take some time because Okay, you can see here in file system there are my deleted files. Okay, so yes, you can see these all things are in my PD, right? But because of some space and some storage, I'll just delete all those things right from my pen drive. So yes, here I'll got my all deleted files. So okay, you can see here there are some temporary files, some PDF. Okay, and in below section you can see some hex, some text. Okay, here you can see some text. Okay, because it is not any of the, because those are PDF file, right? So then file metadata. So yes, you can get here some name. Okay, you will exact get source of the location. Okay, where it will be stored. Then file type, MIME type, then size, file name, location. Okay, so here all my deleted files, right? Modified at, access at, created at, and changed. Okay, md5 not calculated, then hash lookup result, then internal id. Okay, from the Swell kits tool, directory entry not allocated file. Okay, then directory entry times, that will be 26th of March. Okay, at 8 to 9 p.m, right? So by using autopsy you will get all your extracted file, right? If you are by mistakenly you are deleting your any of the images from your storage media, from your device, anything else, so yes, you have to just open autopsy. Then you have to just fill up your credential, that is case number, name, email number, etc, etc, etc. Okay, then after that you have to go to add data source. Then you have to select if you want to use your local disk. So I'll put my pen drive. So yes, I'll just select the local disk. Then after that you have to just select your pen drive. Okay, it will be whatever it will be your name. So after that you have to just go through next, and yes, you will get your deleted files also, your extracted content also, right? And yes, if your folder have any emails related. Okay, in my folder there are some emails related to my team members of mine also. Yes, so after finishing 200%, so I will just get all my extracted content. Okay, in my folder, in my pen drive there will be some images, there will be some pen drives, there will be some text. Okay, so after completing to the 100%, I'll get all the extracted details. Okay, but yes, it will take a lot of time because till now it will just stay go through 56%. Okay, you can see here. You can see here email address, like. Mm, yes, but it is in a format of hash file, right? So yes, here my all extracted data will be get. Okay, there will be some images. Okay, you can see here at the bottom. Okay, there are some certificates of mine. Okay, you can see here my all deleted format, my email address, whatever. Then some videos also. Okay, some new folders, images. Okay, these are my deleted extracted file, right? So by using autopsy you can extract your all deleted files, images, videos, etc, right? So if you want to know about file metadata, you can see here the exact location of the file system, image, then size, then file name, allocation, allocated, then modified, access, created, change, MD5, okay, or MD5 hash lookup result, it is a unknown, then internal ID, and then here is your result. Okay, after completing 100%, my case file will be ready, and that is the name of C101. Okay, then here are some also images. Okay, I'll just created for my Insta handle. Okay, so here are my image, you can see clearly here. Okay, I'll extract my all images. Then here is my another one, and yes, you will get all the time, that is modified time, access time, created time, size, flags meta, known, MD5 hash. Okay, you will get all the MD5 image value of the image, right? Then MIME type, then extension, right? If it is a JPG form, PNG form, BMP form, etc, right? So yes, by using autopsy you can extract your deleted files. Okay, by mistakenly, sometimes by mistakenly we have deleted some files. Okay, but by using autopsy you can extract your deleted files, etc, right? Then here are some system volume information. You can see here the system, there is some current folder. Okay, in one folder I have created some parent folder and some child folder, right? So yes, here is my all the created time, then size, then MD5, then etc information, right? Then new folder. Okay, you can see here there are some PDF file also. Okay, okay, in KeyCyber I have created lots of folder. Okay, so yes, I have created adware folder, attacks on critical infrastructure, laws and rights for women's OWASP. Okay, by according this folder. Okay, I'll just got my all extracted file, right? By using autopsy you can create your all, extract your all details of your image, videos, files, PDF, etc, right? Then you can see here there are some XLS, some Excel file, right? So yes, I'll get here some helps. Then file metadata, then annotations. Because it will be not completed to 100. By using hex value, the forensic expert will get the exact content of the Excel file, right? Okay, then we'll see last one, that is Nearsoft. Okay, by using Nearsoft, okay, it is a freeware. Okay, you can use freeware, browser tools, image tools, right? Password tools by using in one website. Okay, you will get all the tools in one website, that is Nearsoft. Okay. The website name will be www.nearsoft.net. You have to just go for this. Okay, you can, if you want to know about the theory of the Nearsoft, you can go through this. Okay, you will get all the details of the Nearsoft, right? Okay, we'll go for browser tools. Okay, at the left hand side, you will get the all utilities, that is password tools, system tools, browser tools, programmer tools, network tools. Okay, so we will go for browser tools. We'll see one or two browser tools, right? Okay, so we'll go for browsing history view, IE history view, IE cache view, Mozilla cookies view, Mozilla Opera cache, Chrome cache view, Chrome history view. Okay, so mostly I am using Chrome history. So what you will get in Chrome history view? Chrome history view is a small utility that reads the history data file of Google Chrome, that is a web browser, and displays the list of all visited web pages in the last days. For each visited web page, the following information is displayed, that is URL, title, visit data, date and time, number of visits, number of times, and the users type this address, right? So we have to just download the file. So just click on this file. Okay, there are some version. Okay, download history view. Open it. Okay, then you have to run your application, right? Chrome history, that is application. Okay, so the application will be open and it will loading. Okay, you can see here my all Chrome history will be shown here, right? Then what I am searching, what I am URL and transition type, transition qualifier, history file, okay, where all the things will be located, right? So yes, all history data, if it is a Chrome, if it is a Google, if it is a Microsoft Edge, if it is a Mozilla Firefox, your all data will be stored at users in user folders, that is app data, right? So I will get here all my searching, right? From March to till now, right? From 8 March to till now, what I have visited, what I have go to this website, okay? You will search, you will see here that with count, okay? One website, how many times I visited, right? So you can search here, okay? So yes, okay, here is my mail account, right? So my mail account will be visited 68 times, okay? Then here is some, okay, here also mail, okay, there will be also some mail, okay. So after that I'll open Spotify 18 number of times. I'll open pinklegal.com one number of times, okay. So till 8 March to up to now, okay, till 20th of April, all my search Chrome history will be shown here, right? So visited and visit count, type count, referrer, profile, URL length, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so we'll go for last one tool. Okay, then we will wrap up. Again, tool, password tools. Okay, password tool. We'll go for password tools. Okay, this website is freely available. Okay, you can use this. Okay, and the size of each software will be in KBs. Okay, so yes. Then mail pass view, password for Chrome pass. Okay, so I'll go for Chrome pass. Okay, when you are logged in any social media accounts or any of the internet banking accounts by using Chrome, okay, so if you are accepting the prompt, that is we want to save your password to browser, so yes, when you are accepting yes, then yes, your all passwords will be stored at there, and yes, the all password will be extracted by Chrome pass, right? So we'll just download it, and after downloading, Okay, so open up, then application, then password. Okay, so you will get password from text file. Okay, here is a readme.txt. I'll just extract this file. Okay, so it will be easy. Extract here. It will be not, the file will contain password. Okay, so we'll go for another one. Okay, here is the password, right? So I'll just copy it. CHT pass. What will be the password? That is C H P A double S 9126 and star and okay. Okay, now my I'll just open my application. See, okay, you can see here. Okay, here you can see exactly the Android, then some website I have visited, right? So here are some my website, and yes, I have created some password for my website. Okay, some educational website and some another website. So yes, here you can get, that is yes, here for this he will get my username. So he'll not get my password because I am not prompting to any of the box for the S. Okay, because whenever you are logging to any social media accounts or any of the website, okay, the Chrome will always ask you to, yes, you want to save your Google password to the Chrome. So yes, whenever you are selecting yes, then yes, your password will be stored at Google. So yes, here my username is a yes, this one, and the password strength. Okay, so yes, you can see here I am using some password and those are very weak, right? So I am using Facebook password. Okay, here is my Facebook account. Okay, so yes, my password is very weak, and yes, my all details will be stored at the this folder. Okay, Then action URL, password length very weak. Okay, then password file. Okay, so we'll just see search here. Your all file will be stored in the C folder, that is app data. Okay, I have copied the file location. This PC. Just I'll put here C. Then I'll put here, go through this. Users, HP, okay, my all login data will be, okay, this is not a particular file. Okay, so you can see here some of the one example website, that is amazon.com. okay, you can see here amazon.com, then github.com, then amazon.com here also, then here is a facebook.com. okay. Mm, okay, I'm not having any type of application to open this login data. Okay, keycyber.com http. Okay, here are some, I'm searching the website, and yes, I'm using the password for them. Okay, so you can see, yes, here are some academy, some of my videos. Okay, some website. Okay, here is, you can see paypal.com, show academy, hacker rank. Okay, those website which I have created account for that, and yes, I'm daily accessing those websites. So yes, all those things will be stored here. What I'm do, okay, I'll just go through here and just select history file and copy the location and just through this PC or my computer. Okay, then go through C folder, this PC, then C folder. Okay, then I have to just copy here the file location, and yes, they'll ask me where you want to open the location of the file. So yes, I got all the login data of my file. So yes, whatever you are doing, the all list will be stored. Okay, so you can see here my all login data, right? So by using Nearsoft, you can use any of the software and you can find it by yourself. So it is very easy to use also, right? So thank you for inviting me. So this is up to you. This is up to that. Okay, you can go through all these tools, that is password tool, system tool, browser tools, programmer tools, and network tools. Okay.
So thank you, Arshita. Is it over now?
So yes, I am closing the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ishita. So thank you guys for attending the session. This is the feedback form link. And if you aren't in any of the groups, please join that. I'll be also sending this in the chats. Any queries? Mics, any queries? The video and the PPT will be shared within 2 to 3 days. No, so okay, thank you guys.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay. What the thing is, one minute. So normally, which laptop configuration is best to use these tools?
So actually, the Harshita is left, so she will be in the WhatsApp group. You can ask your queries there. Okay.
Okay, fine.
Okay. Thank you.